Welcome to the Electric Theatre.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, man, my pleasure.
Do you, I thought we'd start by, I was just telling my friends, I'm here in LA and I'm in an Airbnb, and I was just telling the people that I'm living with, my friends, that we met each other in like '99. Do you remember us meeting at, it was in Arizona. I don't remember the venue name, but it was in the Round. I remember that much.
Yeah, I think it was, I believe it was Celebrity Theater.
Yep, that's right, Celebrity Theater. And it was the one time that it was very early in our career, and I've seen you play several times throughout 20 years on festivals and stuff, but never had a chance to really sit back and talk to you from this amazing journey I've been on and amazing journey you've been on. So, but that's such a long time ago. And you gave me, I was telling my friends, you gave me I don't know if you remember, but you gave me a little gift. It was a little piece of wood with a religious emblem on it. And
All right, yeah.
yeah, it was, I spent a lot of time thinking. I still have it, and I have it in a very special place where I keep all things that are special. But that was one of the
That's cool, man.
yeah, it was one of the very first gifts I'd ever gotten from, well, sort of a mentor and someone, that I looked up to and had listened to for a long time. So that was a pretty amazing moment in my life. Just meeting you, not knowing you, and, you approaching me and then giving me a small gift for good luck or insight or whatever it was. But I still have it. I think about it all the time. I see it quite frequently, actually.
You don't have it with you right now, right?
I don't have it with me right now, only because I'm in LA, and I wouldn't, I have it with a bunch of other stuff from like my grandma and just my mom and dad, just, good luck stuff.
I just think that's cool, man, that when you give something kind of personal, I think it means a lot to the person giving and to the person receiving for both, because I remember one time when Ozzy gave me a crucifix, when Dana died, so he gave me and I always it was like, wow, if I tell the teenage Max that Ozzy is gonna give you a crucifix, that game over, you don't even want to think about it. So I kind of like I kind of inspired by that type thing, and I gotta say that day, I always remember, I compared that day to, have you ever watched the movie Amadeus?
Yes.
The Mozart movie?
Love it.
Right. So when Mozart is going out and he's hanging out with his friends, and he goes out to see one of his friends' composers, and he's in a balcony drinking and loving the show, that's what for me felt like that day. I always go back to that movie because I had the perfect day. I was like, I recorded early with Corey. We did Jump the Fuck Up. And then I went to your show and you guys just rip it, and I was like, yes, it couldn't be more of a perfect day, man. This is so cool. Like, I done recording early. I'm here now. I don't have to perform. I just watching and headbanging and having a great time. You guys put out always a great fucking show, and for some reason it always reminds me of Amadeus, of the movie. It has a really deep connection with that.
I was telling my friends that, that was the first time that we played in the Round ever. And I can remember coming out and having to jump back into the hallway that led you in. I had to jump back in there because there was just this energy I had never experienced in my life.
Yeah.
People behind us, like, I remember I had to get out for a second and ask myself, what is going on with this place? This circular one motion of energy was so on. And of course you were there with all of your family, and
Yeah.
that was, you know, I'm a family man. So, you know, for me, it's always amazing when my peers and just mentors and the artists I love have family around. Because I think fans, you know, fans can mix things up about what we do. You know, sometimes there's just this idea of what they think rock stars are or bands. And, you know, I like to talk about the sacrifice that if you're a family man, you know, the sacrifice is tremendous. I have a difficult time. I myself, you know, we lost a child as well, and you can't help but constantly think about the times that you were going for your dream, but leaving the most important people at home who support you for the dream. Uh, it's a very difficult passageway for anybody who's married and has children and wants to go live their dream in the rock and roll game. You know, God music to us. So I remember that day really well, because I remember after showering real quick and that you were in the back with your entire family.
Yeah.
And it was so like, you know, it was beautiful for me, because, you know, I need that around more. I need people that are married, that have kids. I need to be able to talk to these people about family instead of the other side, which is fine too, which is, you know, living life and, you know, burning and, you know, just living the experience. So there's those two things. So I remember that I watched for a while. I watched you and your family from afar, and I just watched your family take over, and I watched how comfortable they were and just how cool everybody was with everyone. And I was like, man, if I make it in this business, I'm going to make sure that in 20 years, you know, I will be with my family, and my family will be invited into this world, and they will be able to walk around with no eyes. You know, people will accept them and understand that it can be that way in rock and roll. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because you and I have a lot, and I I didn't learn it from you, but I saw it, right? You know, I was like, thank God that there's musicians that I look up to that have families.
Inspirational, right? Inspirational. Well, like one of the things I did, I remember right when Zion was born, because Zion's heartbeat opened Chaos A.D. You know, like I recorded in the hospital with like nurses screaming at me, and I was like, I don't give a fuck, lady. This is going on a fucking record. I gotta record this right now, you know. So I have the microphone, the headphones, it's like the DAT machine back in the DAT days. And one of the decisions I made was like, I'm not gonna hide my family side from my fan. I'm gonna expose. I'm gonna tell the world that you can be a metalhead, you have a family, and you still as gnarly as ever. You know, so that was kind of like a decision that I made. So we always took our kids on tours, man. There's like funny stories. Like there's a great one, and we're playing with Ministry, and the Chili Peppers are backstage and hanging out. And I guess Anthony must thought that my family was from Brazil. So he started to speak with my stepson, which I think he was like 7, 8 years old at that time, and tried to speak a little Spanish with him. And my stepson just punched him in the balls. And it was like hilarious. And I'm watching this thing. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Anthony. I don't know what happened. You know, I have to apologize for the behavior of the kid. You know, it's like, but man, I love it. Like, you know, I remember playing like a couple years ago with Black Sabbath, and my son is with me playing drums, and he came to me like his pale, was like totally white. I was like, what happened, dude? I just crossed eyes with Jimmy Page. You know, because Jimmy Page was hanging out. It was like, oh, did you get an autograph? Nah, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to bug him. I'm like, good kid, good. You know, you got good manners.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah, I love the family side, man. It's cool.
I tried to. When we got signed, there were so many of us that I'm sure that a lot of people took a position of trying to get us to shave off some monetary aspects. You know, there's just so many guys in the band, and we were nobody. So I would hear a lot of talk about family, and people would ask me, people would say to me all the time, like, how are you going to make it out on the road? And I'd be like, well, what do you mean? They're like, well, all the girls and stuff. I'm like, you don't even know me. You don't even know who I am. You don't even know what I'm about. And you already are jumping to that. So it always really bothered me too, and then we finally went to London for the first time, and we did a cover for Metal Hammer, and Chris and I, for whatever reason, we had the American flag draped over us, and Chris and I got the cover for the Metal Hammer, and I made sure that I had my ring, same ring here. I put it way up front in the camera because I did the same thing. I wanted kids to know, like, hey, you can be in rock and roll, and be married, have kids, and live this life, And I always wondered why so many people thought that couldn't be, and honestly,
it hurt their career, so they hide it. They're like, this being a family is gonna hurt my career. I better hide that side. I gotta be gnarly all the time. It's like, yeah, you can be. In fact, I think it's inspirational for all the dads out there, metalhead dads. Like, yeah, man,
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's our life. That's what we chose. So I've always majorly respected you, just for, we'll leave it at just family. And just to, I never try to go anywhere too weird with this show because it's just not my thing. But I'll just say, man, it's so nice. I mean, it's been a while now, but it's really nice that you and your brother are, together and doing things again and stuff like that. Cause as fans, you look back and you hope, you just hope that family blood will always be blood, and when anybody would ever say anything, it'd be like, no, brothers are brothers, mom and dad's mom and dad's sister. It's all going to work out eventually. So it was that's really cool right now. And you'll have to tell Igor Clown said, hey, or whatever.
It was a learning experience because I did not speak with him for 10 years.
Yeah, we all know, but we all think also, brothers are brothers,
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, the whole thing was very complex and traumatizing as hell. So now that we're good now, man, like we just, like, I'm in a point of my career, I just want to touch things that gives me enjoyment and pleasure and no drama. That's why I do these kind of side things like Go Ahead and Die and Cavalera Conspiracy and why not? Killer Be Killed, why not? But yeah, I remember seeing you at Killer Be Killed in Australia. That was cool. You're actually in our video.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't. That's cool.
Curb Crusher. Go check it out. Yeah. There's footage of you hanging out with us.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. I mean, so what, tell me, I know, again, I just kind of blatantly jump into these to just see what we can touch without, an agenda, but also the agenda is always pertinent to what we're doing. But someone said that, because this is a new one for me, but you're jamming with one of your sons?
Yeah. So I just did a side thing with him. It's called Go Ahead and Die. It's really fucked up.
And what son is it?
That's Igor, the second one. Yeah, okay. Igor is Igor Amadeus. Actually, that's his name.
Yes, and
by Mozart.
Not to sound weird, but does he play drums or does he guitar?
His guitar, and he goes by Amadeus because so many people confuse with my brother.
Sure.
But he also he writes books like Stephen King kind of books.
Oh,
very talented. Very. I don't have that in me. He got that from Gloria's side of the family. Writing books and things like that. But he's been diabetic since he was 1. So I always been really close to him. I used to give him the finger pokes and the injections, and that was real tough, man. And people didn't realize that, but bunch of times, I'll be out of the stage, sweating, just kind of like wipe my face off with a towel, and they gave me a needle. I'll give him a shot. It's like, yeah, he needs a shot right now. We're actually 1 hour late, because the show went on a little. So for like a bunch of years, I did, me and Gloria, we did that. And So it made a bond between me. We created this really metal diabetes bond because of that. You know, it was like we bonded, man, and we never let it go. And COVID hit, and he was in Florida. I told him, come here to Arizona, it's better here. So he came here. We have a house in a mountain in the desert. So I just went there and started jamming with him for the fun of it. I didn't even have a plan to make a record, but just came out like that. It was just really, really cool. You know, just having fun with your son, jamming. It's like a dream come true for me, man.
Well, again, it's so important for our fan bases, our culture to, they support us. They definitely support us, but I mean, who would know? I mean, those are the things I'm talking about. I mean, the real life situations that we have when we're out on the road can be so surreal. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would be like to medically, have to look after someone out on the road, which is very dirty, sand, wind, lots of dirty people around and stuff. So I understand that bond, but that's what we've always seen, with you guys and stuff. So that's amazing. I love it. I've always had the chance to, at the end of the show, I like to throw my sticks out. So I usually bring a Polaroid camera to take a picture of the crowd for me. And I'll bring whatever kids are with me out to throw the sticks. So I have a lot of memories of my kids, every one of them coming out and throwing sticks at different times in my career. And I can remember when that felt weird to maybe some guys in the band. You got to cut through that stuff. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that for sure. I wouldn't be able to prove it or care, but I can imagine, when we're going through the ego and we're going through all this shooting star stuff, it can weigh heavy. Family can weigh heavy on people, and family can take away some of your shine, because real family is like so powerful and shines so much. So, but so that's amazing that you
Yeah, I did that a bunch of times with my kids, especially Zion. I was really proud when Zion was born. I was like this really weird proud dad, that it's like fucking, I want to show the world that my son is here. So we did this show in Brazil, and it was a Hollywood Rock, it was called Hollywood Rock, big festival, and like Robert Plant was there and stuff. But at the end of the show, I show Zion with like a Lion King moment when you hold your son up,
Yeah.
fucking, and then somebody threw a Sepultura flag on the stage, and I went back. I just opened the flag. It showed to the fans, me and Igor, I went backstage, and like literally 5 minutes after the show, there was 20 cops in my dressing room. Like, you arrested, you spit on the Brazilian flag, you step on the flag, and I was like, what is going on? Like, I got my son here, my family here. Anyway, I got arrested that night. I spent the jail spent the night in jail in Brazil, and that was fucking crazy because the next day it was like the newspaper cover of all the newspapers were talking about that. I remember some Brazilian musicians were like, "Yeah, he should be lynched for doing that with our flag," and I was like, "I didn't do anything with your goddamn flag. I just opened the flag and had the Brazilian Sepultura ass on it, But yeah, it was a stressful week there, man. And it's such a weird thing because you're the highest of the high holding your son, like the Lion King moment. And 10 minutes later is the complete opposite. I mean, being dragged on a police car. I'm going to the police station. It's like, all right, the high is over. Reality comes crashing.
Well,
that was pretty fucking crazy.
The duality of our lives is exactly that. I always tell people, we need inspirational mentors that get with us at the beginning of our career to help us with isolation, chemicals, the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever it is. We always need people, I feel, to help us, because what you just said is really the truth. It's like the high is there for so quick, and then reality sets in for the rest of it. When I got into business, I want to say it was someone, God, who was it? Before we were signed, we were playing with a lot of bands in our hometown, opening for them. And one of the bands came through, and I remember them telling me, someone in a band that I looked up to, I wish I remember, but they told me, remember one thing, it's 23 hours of hell and 1 hour of God. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm gonna make it 24 hours. And I'll tell you, one thing that's beautiful about one's career is that every time you come out with a new album, you can rest assured that your show's going to get a little longer. So now I'm blessed to have 90 minutes of heaven and, 22 and a half hours or whatever of complete, hell, reality of long flights, just no sleep, irritation, press, people, just everybody trying to bring you down. And then you get back up for that 1 hour or so. So I know I've been there. Fortunately not arrested, but I know what you mean, just to have the glory taken right under your feet.
Yeah, and which one of you guys were a member of the Sepultura fan club? What was it, Paul?
It's got to be Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, it would have, truthfully, it was either Paul or Joey. I mean, it could only be one of those two gentlemen.
Right.
But my head, Paul, well, yeah, Paul, huge Sepultura fan. In fact, he introduced me to Sepultura.
Cool.
He was I'm an only child that lived in Des Moines, and I don't have any brothers and sisters, and I went to a Catholic school, and I just was very naive. So the only way I was ever able to grab anything onto music if someone older or my age was able to show me something.
Right, yeah.
So when I met Paul, he was more or less, he understood my dilemma because, just to speak freely, and I don't want to mention names, but when I was growing up, metal was a different look to me. I thought metal was like Bon Jovi, because I just didn't know. I mean, I'm not embarrassed to say it. I grew up on MTV, and they were very fluffy and didn't play a lot until Headbangers Ball finally came on. But, I thought that was it. So Paul he was the one that helped me with everything. He's like, okay, here's Sepultura. You need to check this song out and this song and this song, and then you can go back and listen to the album. So he'd take me to where my heart was on any band, from Testament, because when I first heard Chuck sing, from Testament or whatever, I was like, whoa, like there's some weird thing in there with him. And I would have never known unless Paul opened it up. Same with Anthrax. I mean, all the bands.
Yeah.
Even Metallica was probably the only like metal band that I actually was introduced to when I was in high school, because I had a good friend who worshiped them. And when you went into his room, the wallpaper was Metallica.
Right.
So I had to learn it, and I did. And then I understood that, but it wasn't enough to make me understand I could go to Testament, go to Sepultura, go to Anthrax, and then all the other stuff, but
Paul, actually, he came here. I don't know if he ever told you that, but he came visit us. I can't quite remember the year, but it was with our friend Joey. I think you guys know him.
I know Joey.
Yeah. So one day I was just hanging at home and the doorbell rang, and it was Paul and Joey. They came to say hi, and it was cool. We hang out a little bit, listen to some music, just a nice, cool guy, man. And it's so cool that you have a guy like that in your band, like, because I had Igor, and so me and Igor, we discovered bands together. Like that's how we got into the whole death metal, beginning thrash death metal thing, with the early Sepultura records. And we got in touch with all those bands, and Igor would paint the shirts for those guys and would send it to them for them. And so there's a picture of Chuck from Death wearing hand painted shirts that Igor made, very, very do it yourself for real, even like the bullet belts like we wear on the record. Those are batteries. Those are AA batteries that we glue them together.
It's awesome. Well, that's how we did it. That's how we all did it. Like,
hey man, you gotta be creative.
Yeah, if you can't buy it, you got to make it to put the look out, So
yeah. And I remember Joey is actually the one that played me your guys' stuff, and I was like, fucking hell, this is crazy, man. What is this?
Yeah,
really blow me away, man.
We've been I've been reminiscing a lot lately. I just been very blessed to be where I'm at and keep the company that I keep.
Oh yeah, your new record rules. Your new record is amazing, man.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. We're always looking. We're always searching. We're actually recording right now, and I believe that like right now is like the last time that I think we're gonna finalize a certain aspect of our searching, and then we're gonna maybe search for some roots, to get back to some roots or whatever. But yeah, Paul was, I like to tell people now, like, sometimes I wonder why I'm even in Slipknot. You know what I mean? Sometimes life gets heavy and I'm just like, wow, my whole life is Slipknot. And then I think back, Paul and I hanging, and he's the one that understood my gifts. And, he would always tell me, he's like, my music, and this is before like Joey and Corey joined the band. Paul would just be like, your art and your brain and the way I want to present metal, and then of course we met. We got Joey. He was always in the scene, and then once that happened, it was like even us were like, what are we doing? Like it was insane. And then when Corey joined, it was over, like the dream became solidified in our own brains. But I'm very thankful. After Paul passed, it took me about 3 years, maybe 4, to literally realize he's responsible for me. Like I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Like he, I'm an old alternative guy. I grew up a lot of punk and a lot of alternative, and had to be introduced to the metal. And after he was gone, I was like, holy shit. I'm like, he's the reason I'm here. And I'm like, he's the music guy. And I'm like, this thing. And like, I'm very thankful and I'm very blessed, because I grew up watching those guys play their death metal shows. Like, some of their, Paul and Joey and Mick, they were in Body Pit, and, I'd have to go get a beer because these guys would like have 28 riffs in one song, and they're not easy riffs. I mean, they're not easy. This is like out there. And I just get so confused. I'd have to get a beer for a second or something just to like, so I'm very lucky and blessed to have like been in the company. And I used to love to watch Paul. We'd be at a party or hanging out or something, and he'd light up a cigarette, and he was left-handed. So he'd take a guitar and put it right-handed, someone handed it to him, he'd go, pick a song. So we'd be like, Stairway to Heaven. He'd be like, give me 5 minutes. And he'd learn how to play it right-handed. And then he'd switch it over to left-handed and play it upside down again. And my mind would be blown. I'm like, how can you, go from there to here and it's upside down? And so I have a lot of fond memories. And I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Paul made the journey to come to your house. That's exactly who he was. He was that sort of, and I hear more and more of those sorts of stories, and it's even awesome that Joey played you the CD first. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I also heard this story. This always stays with me too. Some award that you guys were on, and you guys set the tables on fire.
Yes. Yes. We actually it's really funny. We couple things. We went to Kerrang.
Oh, that was Kerrang.
We went to Kerrang, and we had never been there. His first album, and we were told that they invented an award for us. So we weren't good at shows. We weren't good at posing. We weren't good at, hey, everybody, Slipknot. That we never knew that stuff was ever going to be. It was just attack. So when we had to do the show, my favorite part of that whole experience is management comes up right before we walk to our table and they tell us that they made us glasses. All the glasses on every table had a tribal S on it. So we were a little upset because we're like, that's a little grandiose. Why'd you do that? You're going to make other bands and other people hate us. You know, they all are winning awards, but you have a tribal S Slipknot glass on the table. It's really going to make people not like us. So right when we sat down, the host walked up to the front and he's like, good evening. And Sid Wilson, the DJ, took the glass and threw it at his head. Just right above his head. And we set the precedent right from the beginning. We're like, fuck you and the glass and this and all this. You know, you're not going to set us up. So the very last award of the night was best band in the world. And that's the Kerrang award they invented for Slipknot that keeps going now. And they're like, okay, new award category. And then basically when it happened, we just threw the table over. It pissed everyone off. I mean, they just said Slipknot. We had that table. We took our chairs. We just wrecked it. And Sid, at the beginning, after he threw the thing, he took napkins and he tied them together. And then he put lighter fluid in it. And then he lit it. And it sent these napkins up in the air. And then they started on fire and ash would go places. And they were almost going to shut it down. And it was just because we felt like we were set up, you know, we were like, this isn't cool. These are, you know, Manson was there. Queens of the Stone Age were there. They just won Best International. And they had this gentleman, they walked out all in white. And there was this guy wearing a little turban. When they were walking by Slipknot to get their award, this little dude just smacked Chris in the back of the head. And, you know, that started stuff, you know, but we love Queens and Josh and everybody. It was so funny because we were so tense and this guy just walks by, smack.
Yeah. I just always love that story, man. To me, it's so rock and roll, man. It's like, you know, rebellious. I mean, it's just cool. I'm attracted to that, man. Like, you know, I picture, you know, because like one thing, like if I ever, you know, like I never won a Grammy or anything like that, but if we ever did, that would be like, I want to do something like that, you know. It could be like some kind of rebellious thing, man. I don't know. I just thought it was a cool story. I heard it. I was like, fuck yeah, that's cool as fuck, you know. But I also remember playing with you guys in Poland. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah. It was, you know, it's such a long journey. It's hard when we don't get to always, you know, there's so many different time slots and sometimes we don't even show up until like an hour before we play because everybody's so burnt out and stuff like that.
I don't blame you, man. You know, like same here, you know, like I you know, in festivals I kind of like to check out a lot of other bands and
me too.
And, you know, see what everybody else is doing. But I remember seeing Mick at catering. We talked for a little bit. But I was just it was just cool, man. See the stadium. They had a plane flying with your guys' banner on it. Like Scarface. Like the word is yours, you know, Scarface. Like, fuck yeah, man.
You know,
it's cool. You listen, you guys are my peers, man. You know, we're all in this together. So this is what I get so mad about. Like sometimes, like some people get picky when bands get big. Fuck you. You guys are making metal bigger. You know, like it's awesome, man. I'm totally proud of it. You know. It doesn't come from a place of jealousy. It comes from a real place of proudness, you know, like I'm a humble guy and you know, all I wanted to do was just live for music and I achieved that. So I'm good either way, but to see you guys doing that, conquering that, it's cool. It made me really proud, man.
Well, thank you so much. I can remember, just to tell you like what it's all about. I can remember Ross Robinson taking us out to where there was a hole, and he told us you guys buried your tapes in the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I came up, was a producer saying, come with me. Let me show you something about art and about love and about reality. And I can remember him telling us about you guys burying actual tapes. Can you, like, we were told, was it just one night? Was it just overnight, or was it longer? Do you remember? Or
so yeah, so that was it was actually we were there with Chino from the Deftones. Chino's a good friend, and so we just got done. Everything was recorded. It was done in tapes back then, analog. All the recording was analog, and so that was the first Soulfly. And I heard from Richard, the owner, that used to be tribal land, and 300 years ago there used to be Indians there, and they were probably buried there. So I came with this crazy idea in my head, like, we need to bury the tapes to grab the energy of the soil, like just some wild trip. I always had this kind of crazy trippy ideas, like Chaos A.D. recording in a castle, like a Brazilian band recording a song about Indians in a Welsh castle. It totally doesn't make any sense, but it was cool. We grabbed shovels, we'd make a big hole, we wrapped it in plastic and put it down there. We left it for 24 hours. The next day we made like kind of like a little ceremony, unbury them, and then we sent it to Andy Wallace to mix. And I remember Andy calling Gloria because he didn't know why there was mud on the plastic. It was all dirty, and we'd have to tell him that we buried the tapes, man. But I totally think that gave the album some little magic, man. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff that we don't know that I believe happens.
I'm just going to tell you, I mean, I love all of your albums. Coming up in that era and, recording at Indigo and then listening, to Roots, I mean, super boosh, so yeah, burying them did something for sure. You can absolutely prove it that it did something to that album, because that I can just remember that album kicking my head off, and it was right at like talking about it when we're like recording and stuff, and that's kind of the energy, those kinds of things that we were told and we experienced went into that first album. I mean, before we even worked, Ross made us run down that whole valley. He would make us go out before we tracked, and he'd be like, now run down these rocks. I did it once and I told him to go to hell. I was like, no way, man. I'm never gonna, I don't need to run down a valley for an hour to record drums. But I mean,
and that drive, right? That crazy drive. Sometimes we had crazy bad drivers at night, and I was like, we're all gonna die. This is gonna be the end. There's not gonna be a Roots record because these idiots gonna crash this fucking car in the canyon,
Well, we would every night when we were done, we would usually have to end early because the band Amen was recording at night, so we were kind of double dipping. We were like, the label made us share, so we would get done early. And Chris brought his truck, and it was amazing because 2 guys would get up front, and then 2 or 3 of us would lay in the bed of the truck on our backs looking up, and we would tell the driver to drive as crazy as he can down there, and we'd just be in the back of the truck going like this, thinking that at any moment we're going to flip out over the canyon. It was quite a far. I mean, you're not going to make it if you go off the canyon. You're going to be done. So yeah, that drive was bonkers.
So that's crazy. So so Amen was recording at night on the same board.
It was, I'm super friends with everybody in Amen, but I'll tell you, I was so mad because the board was not automated, and I mean, literally,
that's crazy.
When 6 o'clock would roll around, they're like, later, and they would strike that board, pull the tape off, set everything to 0. we would leave, then Chuck would sit there and bring up Amen's stuff and they would record, and it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool at all. I blame the label. I don't blame Amen. I don't blame us. I don't blame Indigo. I just blame the label for trying to get two things done at once. But 20 years, how many ever years later, you look back and you have to say, like bearing the tapes, sharing recording space in the same day was some of our magic. So we would attack it all day, and then we would be told we got to quit. And that was very hard. And it didn't happen the whole time. It was just a little bit of it, but they're all our friends. So we love those guys and got to be really close with them and stuff like that. But at the time,
inspiration is real. It's a cool thing, man. I remember we doing Chaos A.D. We did it at Rockfield up in Wales, and that's where Queen recorded Bohemian Rhapsody and Black Sabbath and all this, Zeppelin recorded that. So I remember the owner giving us a tour, showing us this is the piano that Freddie recorded, Bohemian Rhapsody, you can touch it. I was like, holy shit, man. And I remember he's telling like, you and Gloria, you guys got Robert Plant's room. Okay, that's cool. So every night, you sleep in there, you can't help but your mind just kind of go there, man. It's like, damn, I'm in the same room that these great, amazing, musicians share. And I think all of us, the journey is different, but the feeling is very similar. The spiritual side of it is very similar, of how we feel the things and inspired by you were inspired to be in Indigo by the bearing of the tapes and things like that. I think that's cool, man. It's important to keep that tradition alive.
Well, I same thing. I'm an only child, so sometimes I can get upset sharing, and it's always my work to learn how to share in these sorts of things. So I can remember going to Indigo and telling myself, hey, let everyone pick where they want to sleep. Don't let this be a thing. There's 9 of us. It's going to be hard to figure out where everyone's sleeping. And anyway, everyone found their place. And I found this ISO booth that had all this stuff in it. And I asked Ross, I'm like, hey, can I move all this out and sleep in this ISO booth? And he's like, yeah, it's perfect for you. That's where Jonathan sang Daddy. And I was just like, ugh, what? So every night I'm laying in this room thinking about Jonathan singing Daddy, and there was nothing in there. And I watched a video, and he's like, and my bed's on the floor, but the video I'm watching, he's like taking up the whole space. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in that energy. I'm in this. And, we're nobody, we're just got signed. We're nobody. We haven't even recorded. And I'm in this room, in this thought process going, what is going on, and all the stories, and just, I'm a big Patton fan, and, you guys had Patton, and all the stories and burying the tapes and just, I mean, you got to imagine how we were like, you're telling me about, Freddie Mercury and, Robert Plant and stuff. And, us, we're like, Chino, Patton, Max Cavalera, Igor, everyone. We're just like, what are we doing here? Like, I hope, it was such a amazing time. I would stare at a platinum plaque that Korn drew on the wall for Richard, and it was a round cardboard.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right? That. So I would stare at it and stare at it and stare at it, and I thought it was so cool that Korn was like, this is our platinum album, and they stuck it on the wall, and I would stare at it. And then one night we were all down at Ralph's getting 99-cent pizzas, and I made my pizza, and when it was done, I went to throw away the cardboard thing, and I picked it up, and I walked into the other room, and I sat right next to their platinum thing, and I realized that Korn was eating 99-cent pizzas from Ralph's. And I was like, whoa, maybe we're going to get a platinum album. It was the energy. Like, they thought they were going to get one, and then they ended up getting several. So that's why I would stare like this thing of owning your own reality before like the corporate world gives it to you and
Yeah,
acknowledges.
and I remember Patton show up with a suitcase, and it was like, well, what's with the briefcase, man? You know, there's a Samsonite briefcase, and then Patton opens it up, and he's got a bottle of red wine, he's got a vocal pedal, and had some gum in it. It was like, you know, like 007 suitcase type shit. It was like, I need the pedal for my vocals. You know, we got to hook it up. The wine is after we're done with the recording. We're all gonna drink some wine. You know, and I was like, this is so cool, man. It's like, you're the man. You know, this is it was awesome. And then we ended up doing 2 songs with Mike. You know, we did Look Away and Mine, and of course Look Away has also John. You know, but I always like to pick a musician's brain. It's always fun. It's always cool. You know, that's like, to me, one of the coolest thing about Killer Be Kill is actually, you know, I always picking on Troy. Hey Troy, tell me some stories, man. You know, like it's cool, you know, and then Greg, you know, Greg is such a crazy front man, always jumping from balconies and all that shit, you know. Yeah, so it's almost like we're students, you know, we're students of the art form, and we get the chance to really talk to our idols, you know. We get to meet them, you know. I pretty much met most of it. You know, I wish I would have met Dio. That's kind of like the only one I didn't really meet. But everybody else, you know, so it's like, it's cool. It's like we're students of this, and get to sit down with. I even, you know, I get really geeky sometimes if I'm touring with a band that I really like. You know, we were touring with Suffocation, and I told Terrence, make me a 10 list of your 10 death metal albums that made you do what you do. And he's all like, are you serious, man? You know, are you being serious right now? Like, total nerd. I'm like a total nerd, man. I love it. It's cool. It's part of being metal, you know. And I try to stay away from the business side. You know, I want to keep this thing as pure as I can. So I just focus on what I can control, which is the music and the art. And I let go or deal with the business, because I think the business can ruin you, man. It really, if you let it, it ruins you. It eats your soul, man. You know, like it eats your soul, and you become just this slave doing everything that they want you to do, rather than you do what you really want to do. You know.
Well,
I don't know how it is for you, but that's how I feel.
It's the same thing. I already sent one email about something that pissed me off this morning. And, you know, it just started a fire, because I'm like, hey, it's not art, you know, it's business, and I don't like that shit, you know. So I have to play the business head all the time in order to keep the art straight. But I had a family that helped me with the business, but I'll tell you, the business is what makes me want to leave and not do it. It makes me feel older. It makes me feel exhausted. You know, the business can exhaust the dream, and you know, it gets harder and harder to just keep the dream alive, and the saturation, the blood and all that. So I agree with you. You know, I try my hardest to just go art all the time. But, you know, like if I don't mandate some businesses too, then like you said, you know, we become robots possibly, and we don't even know our own destiny at sometimes. So I think we still do really well kicking the door in. You know, like I still like to kick the door in and tell people to kiss my ass because it's Slipknot, and I guess they expect it a little bit. So I'm with you on that. Left brainers, I call them. You know, the left brain can just really screw things up. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's kind of like why I do all these things, that because I'm not really a big social media guy. Like, I don't have a phone. I'm one of the few, like my kid told me that the other day, I think you're like one of the few motherfuckers on the planet that doesn't have a phone. You know that, right? And I was like, yeah, I guess, you know. But I like to interact a little bit. So I do this thing called Max Tracks, and it's really punk rock, man. It's just in my living room playing guitar and showing the fans the riffs, and I talk about the riffs, where they originated. I was in my bedroom in Brazil and I wrote, the Arise riff, and so those kind of little things are to me are kind of important. Um, but even stuff like this, like podcasts, I don't do a whole lot of this kind of stuff. But they call me about. They said that you wanted to do one. I was like, fuck yeah,
Well, I'm the same way. I got in trouble recently because I you know how everybody paraphrases everything, but I was doing an interview and they were asking me about this podcast, and I basically, I was saying that I sort of got forced into it. And what I mean by that is, all the good people in my life were telling me, that I needed to do something, and it's like, this is hard for me because I don't want the business to interfere with us. I don't want any sort of business like we're talking today. I want to make sure that when we talk, we're talking and not stuck down some agenda. And that's why it's so hard for me to do. And that's why I told everyone I more or less hate it because I want to keep it personal. And if it doesn't stay personal, then, I can't do it. But
I bet you get a really cool insight in a lot of people.
Oh, I love it.
Cool.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I was a little stressed out, because it's like, oh, I'm talking to Max. I want to make sure it's cool. I want to make sure we stay what we are, and that this polluted viral world doesn't misinterpret what I want to do. And what I want to do is I just want two people to have a conversation and
shoot the shit.
shoot the shit, say hello with no agenda, and just, and that's why I said I more or less don't like it, is that sometimes it can get scary and I don't want to ruin a relationship. That's all. I love doing this because every time I'm done, it makes me smile so much, and I feel better about myself, connecting with my peers, something I haven't really done. Cause you know how it is. I really haven't been, I can't remember the last rock star musician. I don't remember the last person that was a real jerk to me. I think it was Rick Ocasek. I was in a mall and he was with Paulina. So this is a long time ago. And they were playing Des Moines in the Cars. They're one of my favorite bands of all time, just the melodies and the quirkiness. And I went up to Rick Ocasek and I'm like, sir, I'm very sorry to bother you. May I get your autograph? And he's like, looked at me right in the face and went, no. Just turned around and kept reading his magazine. And, it kind of hurt me. I was young enough that it hurt me. I didn't understand it because I was taught to be polite and courteous. But at the same time, I can understand that he was in a moment of his life and maybe he didn't want to be bothered. But then I was also brought up that if I'm not willing to sign people's autographs, I shouldn't be in this business. And I will always give people, time, especially fans. So, but I usually avoid my peers a little bit because I'm just afraid it's going to get messed up, that it might get messed up by somebody or something. And, we don't like that. So this way is pretty good for me because, we're in our homes where, we can I tell my people, don't tell me what Max is doing. Don't let me find out myself. I don't need, I don't need a sheet, and we're not here to we're here to promote, but we're here to do it our way. You and I, the way I want to hear about your son and use band by saying, hey, COVID, we start jamming, we didn't know, and here it is. And then I get the story about, being diabetic.
It's almost like we're meeting backstage somewhere and we got stuck in a corner and let's talk, because we're here.
That's what it's supposed to be.
I like that format, that idea, man. So what about your family, your kids? Are they involved in the metal and
the band stuff? Yeah, I mean, everybody in my family is pretty artistic, and my oldest daughter has taken on photography, and I feel she just blows me away, and so that's awesome. And then everybody jams, and then now our 17-year-old. His name's Simon, and he came, he's only 17, so he was sort of an accident. And because he was an accident and I was much older, I really bonded with him as well. And because we bonded, he learned how to walk on a bus. So he's been around everybody and everything from day one. So just a couple days ago, he had his second show, sold out 400 people in Des Moines, or 300, I think 300. I don't want to make it too big.
Yeah.
No, 300 people during COVID, sold out in a bar. They let him mosh and all kinds of stuff. So he plays drums and he's left-handed, but he doesn't cross his sticks, but he plays like this, and he's got his own weird little technique. So he's and then Corey's child, Griff, he's the singer. So it's a very weird thing that's going on, that Corey Taylor's child and my child are in a band together, and my child plays drums and his child sings. And then they have a bunch of great friends that are in it as well. And they pretty much stick their middle finger in my face and tell me to screw off. And that's exactly what I tell them to do. That, don't comp my style, don't take from me or us. And they swear they don't, but they do all day long. But it's awesome, But Corey and I don't get involved. We want them to really earn it. I teach my son that I used to flyer, that I used to make. My mom and dad had a Xerox machine, so I learned how to blow things up and shrink things and ratios. And I would go out and flyer. And Slipknot actually changed the law back in the day about flyering. When you brought up DRI, we opened up for DRI once, and we made these really big posters, and we put like 3,000 of them up in Des Moines. And then all of a sudden there was a news thing with a news lady standing in front of our flyer saying, Des Moines just passed a new law that you will get fined for this ugly crap. So and there's our flyer right on the wall. It's Slipknot, DRI. It was just like,
how cool is that, right? How cool is that?
Nothing is cooler than that. So my son was actually flyering a week ago. And I was like, hey, that's illegal. And he's like, Dad, that was 20 years ago. It's like, whatever. But he's up and down the street, going to every store, doing it.
You gotta let them figure out for themselves. There's some stuff that you can help, like, of course, I sit down with my kids all the time, and especially with Igor, we sit down and we jam together. So we exchange riffs and ideas, but they used to have this band. The first band they had was called Mode Breaker, and they'll fucking break their shit on every show. They'll break like Nirvana style, and they probably saw some old Sepultura videos of me breaking guitars. So they thought that was the thing to do. And I was like, dude, you guys got to stop doing that, because I can't keep buying you guitars, man.
Yeah. Do you guys have a job? Can you buy your own guitars? I know that's the same thing.
And I always joke with this, like, yeah, man, you guys better make it big, because me and the mom, we're going to get on an RV, we're going to get on a motorhome, and we're going to disappear for 5 years. And you guys are paying the bills.
Well, where do you, if you don't mind me asking, where do you live in Arizona?
It's Phoenix,
cool.
north, but we have a house in the desert, which is really, that's where I do a lot of the writing. I did Killer Be Kill with Greg there. A lot of the stuff with like Sean Lennon, when we did the song with Sean, was there. The whole Go Ahead and Die with my son was done there. It's cool because it's 7 acres. There's no neighbors. You can play music at 2 a.m. You can blast your amplifier.
That's what I think my wife and I are looking to do. We're looking to maybe move to Arizona, or we were thinking about Nevada, but I think we're pushing to the Arizona world. We want to be, we're from Iowa, so we're done with the snow. I'm sick of it. I've lived my whole life, shoveling the driveway and falling on my ass at least 2 or 3 times. And we're just done with the cold. So we're thinking maybe this summer when I'm done, we're going out there a little bit. Maybe I'll reach out and we can get together.
Right. Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. It's pretty cool here. Like the summers can get pretty brutal, but you've been here in the summer, so
we love it. We love it. I mean, I'm a big guy, but for some reason I just really love the heat. I must be like a big iguana or something, because I like to get out and fry. I just love the sun. It does so much good for me.
I remember when I called my mom I took all my mom the first time. I was here for a week when I first moved here, like 30 years ago, you know. And she's like, "So how is it?" You know, and it was like the height of the summer. And the only words I could describe to her is like, "It's like Mars, Mom. It's real hot. There's nobody on the street, and everybody's inside their car with air conditioning or inside their home. So it's a bit like Mars." And my mom was like, "That's crazy." But you know, coming from Brazil, Brazil was always you know, that kind of Florida weather. It was just more humidity, you know. But I always like the desert, man. The desert vibe, that's killer here. You definitely, there's something about it that even if you watch the Jim Morrison Doors movie that he goes out in the desert and do stuff. There's something about the southeast, the desert, that is very spiritual. And I'm in contact with a lot of cool like Navajos. You know, we do a lot of things with the Navajos. Like I know the president. It's crazy. The president of Navajos is a big Soulfly Sepultura fan.
Yeah.
Like that blows my mind. It's like he knows about.
Yeah.
You know, you guys playing Refuse to Resist and you playing Eye for an Eye. It's like you're the fucking president. You should not be talking to me like that. But it's cool, you know.
Well, that's one thing not to sound too weird or whatever, but I always say this because it's, it's just one thing I picked up. But I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and I just always remember when we had to read the Bible and stuff like that. It was always like they were always talking about like the sick. If you're sick, go to the desert. Like Jesus would always take the sick to the desert, and that always stuck out with me. Like, what does that mean? Why the desert? What is it? And as I got older, and when you're in the desert, that heat, that dry heat, it goes to your bones. It goes to your core. It's not like of course it's on the surface, but it really can get in and into that soulful area of my core, and that's why I love the desert, because it pulls something different out of you. It's pretty.
I love it here. I love it here now, and coming from. Especially when you're touring so much like we do, like we're always out, to me, like the coolest thing is just coming back from home and being here. And there's something about it that feels to me, there's not a Hollywood thing. There's not a LA thing, big metropolis. I don't know. I never really was much into that. But you still, there's plenty of things to do. There's the hiking. I love hiking, man. I go hiking all the time. Then it's really cool, like kind of spiritual in a way,
Yeah.
You put your favorite music and go hiking and go up on the top of the mountain and just meditate, man. It's killer, It's a little hippish.
It's all right. I think gentlemen like us, as we get older, you said it very early on in this podcast, I don't know anybody that's like us that isn't trying to get rid of the toxicity in our career. We just try to be around good people. We try to do good things. And, I'm in LA recording right now. And as much as I don't want to be here, it's because I don't want to be here really because people are hurting so much. But then I feel I'm glad that I'm here because I want to help with the solution. I believe in people. So people are really going through a hard time here, and you can see it on every street. And it's really bothersome. It's bothersome that we're like that. So I feel being here, I help with energy, because I just want everybody to be okay,
and there's things that you can do, like I remember when Igor got diabetes, he was 1 year old, and as he got older, we got hooked with the Phoenix Children's Hospital, and they're really cool. And I will go there and meet a lot of the diabetic kids, and some of them were metal fans, and they were totally thrilled to meet me, and it was like real cool. So we started a fund, and not many people hear about it because we don't make that big deal of it, but we have raised a lot of money for especially poor families that can buy medicine, because we were blessed that we had enough money to buy all the medicine, but a lot of people doesn't have it, so I'm glad that we did this fund, and it feels cool. It feels good in your heart. You're doing something like that. You're using your status, your career for something good, also on the side, kind of good for the soul, man. You know that you're helping somebody that's down, and
Yeah.
that always, it's this, the same with the music. Like I'm sure you guys hear a lot of times too. Like people tell you, Slipknot got me through. I was going through the worst time in my life, and Slipknot is what got me through. Like, and when they say that, there's a truth about it. They're not bullshit. They're looking right you in the eye, and they're telling you that, and you can feel it. It's like somehow through your music, you pretty much just saved this guy's life. And that's that hits hard with me. Like a lot of times, I feel like that's the coolest compliment I can get in the music, in the metal world. It's it's not as flashy as winning a Grammy or getting a platinum record, but it's more truthful and more fulfilling.
Well, it's also a full circle because I'm sure you were saved once or twice through the music you love that got you in it, and
for real, man.
and
Like,
I've been almost married 30 years, and my wife's my best friend, and I have 4 children. But the thing that's been there from the beginning for me is music. It's the thing that I have all the time. Even if I'm fighting with her or have an argument, music's there to help me through.
always.
So that's why I've dedicated my life to it. And you're right. So I
And it
love
can be
that.
from anything. I remember listening to old U2 records, and those meant so much to me. A lot of people don't know this, but a lot of like Beneath the Remains were all like rip off Bono lyrics, like totally like dissecting U2 War, and um, all those Under a Blood Red Sky. I end up taking Under a Pale Gray Sky. I just took the red out and put pale.
Yeah. But it's it's the inspiration.
It becomes something yours. You borrow from them, and same with Roots. It's taken from reggae kind of. I remember when I told the label about that record name, they hated it. Like Roadrunner hated it. Case West was like, no, it sounds like a reggae compilation. It's a horrible idea, man. This is a horrible idea. You just gotta stick to your guns, Like I believe in it. I have a vision for it. We did the thing. I'm gonna go to the Tribe. I'm gonna record with the Tribe in the Amazon, and look how cool this is. 20 some years later, you see Gojira go and do kind of like the same thing with their song, and they're like giving us props for that. That's how cool metal is, man. Like the influence still alive today with the new generation.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's really cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Gojira is great. Good friends of ours. Well, Max, I know you're busy. We could talk all day. I don't have to go anywhere, but I always try to keep it this way. I just want to thank you so much. I was a little nervous just because, you're you but this is actually like, I want people to know why I love doing it and why it's so hard is because like when I'm done, I just have so many smiles and so many things I can think of. Like today I woke up and it was like, I got to grind today. Like I got to work, we're just beginning and getting the plane off the ground. And it's, my brain is fried already. I'm just out. So this conversation today is driving my imagination. I'll have a good day all day, just reflecting on everything that we spoke about. And,
thanks, man. And I really enjoy it, man. It was really cool. It was like I said, like sitting in the backstage, and we just end up.
Well, that's the only way. That's the only way the clown can do it is like, my whole angle was, hey, I just want to have a conversation, possibly with 2 people that don't know each other, possibly. And who knows what we come up with? Maybe we solve cancer. I don't know. But, and if I do know them, then it's a reuniting sort of thing and catching up and these sorts of things. So anyway, very honored to have the moment to speak to you. And please tell your brother I said hello, because I was able to speak to him a few times in this journey, separately from you, which was always a thing. But we got to a point where we could say hello to each other. So please give him my love, and obviously give your wife and all your children, everybody, Slipknot's Love and Clown's Love and say hello. And if I'm in Arizona, man, I'll make sure. It'll probably happen later this summer. If you're around or whatever, I'll have everybody reach out. But maybe driving through, we can just say hi. I'll bring a bottle of wine, or
there you go,
and whatever. Yeah, it's kind of funny that you said that, because I have a couple weird suitcases that keep my modular synth stuff in, so it kind of made me smile. I was like, okay, you know, because it's the only thing that can carry it. All the new school stuff breaks. This thing is like a tank, you know. I can get the stuff in and out. So anyway,
you too, man. Send my regards to everybody, man. I hope you guys all being safe and doing good. And on the side note, I love Nero Forte.
Hey, thank you.
Kick-ass song, man. Really killer.
I'm
so glad you guys are still killing it.
we had a lot of fun. There's a big story behind it, because I got a lot of people gave me a lot of hell for the video being in, you know, pink and all this stuff, but you know, no one ever wants to ask why. But that song is so brutal. It had to have a switch, and it all leads you to that bridge section, that breakdown or whatever, where these old dudes are just like, we're just throwing our stuff. But yeah, that is a great, actually, just a quick thing about that. You know, I always felt, you know, people, I am just so lucky to have jammed with Joey. You know, what I learned, you know, I have something that no one else has. I got to play drums with him for all that time. So I learned so much. So when we were making We Are Not Your Kind, I was like, you know, I need to get off my ass, and I need to write a really good cadence. You know, I need to get off my butt, and I need to learn what I learned from all the wonderful people I've learned from. So I spent a couple of weeks trying to capture a cadence, and it needed to be like a question and an answer. You know, it needed kind of like, you know, ask you something and then kind of end it so we could throw. So it's a really special song. I just took the insight of all the great teachers I've ever had, and I tried to do something for them. So it's sort of dedicated to all the great drummers that I was able to learn under. And, you know, I'm like, I'm not doing anything in Slipknot if I don't rip out a cadence. And after Blister exists, it's pretty hard, you know, because you don't want to be familiar. You don't want to ride the tails of that song, and, you know, you got to go different. So we're very lucky to have been able to get that out. So I appreciate that. It's a really fun song, and it feels old. You know, it feels like who we were a little bit. And this new one, all I can say really is this one's going to really freak people out. This one's really, who knows, maybe it was inspired by COVID. It's not about COVID, but just everybody being away creates a different vibration. So we got some really different, really weird stuff happening. So, but anyway, thank you.
I hope I'll meet you down the road somewhere, my brother.
Absolutely. I promise you.
Very nice to talk to you, man.
Well, again, very pleasure. Thank you so much. Give everybody my love, and we'll see you soon, and be careful out there.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
All right. See you later.